Alright, so, hey guys, I'm Mr. Poles. I'm the creator of the Npc Creator. Today we're going to be looking at how to set it up, and this is a editor that is Odin based, so Odin Inspector, and it relies on the Synty's modular hero characters. So you're going to need both those assets if you want to use this properly. Here I already got mine imported. I got the Polygon Fantasy Hero characters and Cyrenix Odin Inspector. So, first thing we gotta do is we gotta create a new folder in here. I'm gonna call mine scripts. You can locate these anywhere you want in your project, so feel free. Then we're going to right click inside of that folder and do show in inspector or show in editor. Explorer. Wow, I can't talk today. And then let me just find mine. There it is. So there's my folders. Now I'm just going to open my scripts folder here, and we're going to drag in the editor folder, custom Odin attributes, and commons, as well as the Npc Creator selector. So I'm just going to copy those over. So these are basically what make the editor run. From there, I'm going to make sure they imported properly. And we're going to be making another folder. So in here I'm just going to call mine NPCs. And we're going to do the same thing for this folder. We're going to open it up, go over to our Npc Creator, and copy over the templates. That's done. So this folder basically has a modified prefab that you guys will be using to create your NPCs. So now we should be all set up, with the exception of the path of where the NPCs are saved. So we're gonna open up, go to scripts, inside the editor folder. You're gonna find Npc Creator. You're gonna open that up. I'm just going to collapse everything. So from here, we're going to go to the editor extension methods and variables. This is kind of like the backworks of the editor. And we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this region and find save methods. Expand that, and inside of here you have an NPC save path. This will be kind of where in the project these NPCs are to be saved. In my case it is right, but if you, for example, have another location, you can modify this path however you like. Then you would save that. We'll go back over to the editor, and from here we can go over to our NPCs folder, open up the template folder, and you have a template NPC. So right now he's going to be missing a script. You're going to remove that, and you're going to open up the template NPC prefab inside the project view here. Remove the missing script, and you're going to add in the Npc Creator selector. This is a script that saves the integers for what options have been selected beforehand. So when you when you go back to edit the character again, it will properly load the options that were previously selected. We're going to click the little arrow and it will give us a save. We're going to say yes. So now our NPC template is set up. We can go over to Tools, Synty Tools, and Npc Creator. So then you have this little pop-up. Normally this will always dock right next to your inspector. For some reason it didn't for me. Let's test that out one more time. There it goes. So right now you have a load material. What this essentially means is if you have a material that is shared across multiple NPCs, say in the case of like city guards, how they have a certain color scheme, you can use the same material for multiple NPCs. And this will, what this little slot does is it will take whatever material you drop in here and apply it to every single part on the NPC. So for example, if I open up this one, so what we usually need to do first actually is make a new folder in here inside of our NPCs and call it materials. Then we can go over to the Polygon Fantasy Hero characters under their materials. You're going to Control D on the Fantasy Hero material, and we're just going to rename this to whatever we want our NPC's name to be. Alright, so just to show off, I'm going to modify his skin color quite a bit. And then if you don't have an NPC selected that is valid, it will give you this little error. It basically just says no NPC is selected. Target a game object that has the NPC Creator Selector component on it. So we'd have to go over to Hierarchy, select him. Now you have this window again. We're going to take our Nick material and take it over to our NPCs folder. And now if I drop this in and click Customize, you'll see that it applied it to every part, since I changed his skin color to super tan apparently. So from here you have a few options. You'll start on the Appearance tab, and you have Gender, Facial Features, and Hair. So from here you can customize if it's male or female. You can customize what face they have. What kind of ears. Any hair. And you also have a slider as well as an increment and decrement button on every option. So from there, if you select a race, when you first start this editor, this is kind of what you'll see. What basically is saying is every race will have its own color palette for skin color, eyes, scars, hair color, and stubble. So you would have to make these color palettes on your own. And now if we scroll down, since I have Goblin, we created empty color palettes. Now if you want the editor to work properly, you can't change the name of these palettes. Just be aware of that. The editor relies on that. But let's say we got Goblin, so we're just going to do like dark green and maybe like a dark brown. For eye color, we're going to give them red, obviously. Maybe like slightly gold, and maybe something like a darker red. Scars. And Synty allows you, or Cyrenix Odin allows you to rearrange these however you like. So if you have a certain order you would want your color palettes to be in, Odin allows you to do that. Let's say a freshly healed cut. And then your hair colors. I'm just gonna give them 2. Now when we go back over here, we can change between human or goblin. And we can change their hair color, their skin color. So that's all part of it. Another thing to be aware of is the system will automatically track stubble with these 2 buttons. So say for example we choose black hair. If we do match hair, since these 2 RBGs are now the same, it will track it. So if we change hair color, it will change stubble color. If we change stubble though, it will break that connection. The same thing goes for if you press none, it will match skin color, and if we change skin color now, it will change stubble with it. It's just a quality of life feature. So we go over to the gear. You have all these drop downs. So you can change things like helmet. You can give head accessories. So what I did for head accessories, I noticed that Synty kind of designed it with a front, side, and back setup. So that's how I split it up. So you can give them, you know, some kind of front accessory, a side one, and a back, rather than being limited to only one of these options for front, side, or back. Another thing is that you can modify the shoulder pads and any other symmetrical options with a single slider, or you can uncheck the match button and it will allow you to split your options and customize each side individually. Just make a quick NPC. There we go. So now you can change the pigments. For right now, it for some reason pulls from the skin colors. I didn't get around to changing that, but in reality, there really is no need to make color palettes for armor, because you just gotta feel it out and kind of make it look however you want. Then you also have an emissions if you want glowy eyes, or some parts of the armor also have some type of emission. Now if we go over to the Finalize tab, you can give the NPC a name, in my case Nick, and I'm just going to press Save NPC. It will give you this pop-up. Would you like to save the NPC as a prefab or save it to the instance of this NPC? So what the instance means is it will just save it to this scene, and it won't make a prefab out of it that you can, you know, kind of splatter around your scene. this is more for contained instances where you can't see yourself reusing this NPC. It's kind of like a one-time creation. And regardless of either option that you pick, just so you guys are aware, it will create a new game object in your scene called NPCs. And in my case, I already have it. But let's just delete that so you guys can see. And then it will parent the game object or the template NPC to that game object. So if I press save instance, it created a new object, and now I have every NPC that I made for the scene would be under here. So let's go back to editing him one more time. So let's say we save him as a prefab. It'll save it properly, and now we have a new NPC here. Now what I can do is, if I make a change to him, let's make something drastic. And take away his horns. Now if we go to save NPC, to the finalize tab and save him, if I press save as prefab, it will now give me two options because a prefab already exists with this name. So it will tell you a prefab already exists. Would you like to save this NPC as a variant or override the existing one? If you override the existing one, it will take this NPC prefab called Nick and set it to this new version. If you press save as a new prefab, it will continuously go through a cycle where it will add a number to the end of his name and increment it and try to save. And if it already exists, it will increment again and try to save. So for example, if I do save as new prefab, you'll see Nick 01. Now if I go back into here and save him again under the same name, it will create a Nick 02. So in this way you can create like City Guard 1, City Guard 2, City Guard 3, all with different versions. Likewise, if I click on Nick and save him again, and I do override, it will take any existing ones and change them to this version. So that's the basics of the NPC Creator. One final option that you have at your disposal is a clear selection. So if you don't like how the NPC is coming along, you can click clear, and it will take away every option and set them all to default values. So now let's look at how to customize the NPC Creator. We can go under Scripts, Editor, NPC Creator. So for example, you guys saw me change the color palettes based on races, but where do you find that enum and add your own options? I broke the editor down into sections of how it is drawn. So the banner is outside of any other collection because it's just drawn and it's always on screen. Then you would have what it would show if there's an error, like that error message that says you don't have an NPC selected. Then you would have the selection made, but NPC selection is not locked in. That's when the customize button shows up and the load material button shows up. And then you have what happens if NPC selection is made and locked in. So that's like all the customization. So that's kind of what we want. And then you have the selection controller, which controls how the selections are made and how it handles it. So for example, if I quickly just go back into here, even if I select an NPC and I click customize, pulled it from the prefab. What I can do from there is, even if I select a different NPC, the NPC I locked in is the one still being edited. So if we want to add our own races, we go to NPC selection made and locked in, go to the appearance tab, go to gender, and here you have an enum of every race. So now if we were to add an option, and save it, we go back to the editor, and we do customize NPC. Under gender, we can now find half elf. And just like before, if we select it, it will prompt us to make color palettes. So this way you can set it up so that certain races have distinct characteristics. For example, like orcs only having green skin, or elves being the only ones that can have blue or golden eyes, or something like that. So that's the way that the editor works. Hope you guys have fun using it, and in the future I hope to create a weapon creator and add an option under the NPC creator that allows you to equip a weapon. That's probably in version 2.2 more than likely, so keep checking back and have fun creating.